plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, shopping the Spaced Out Radio Store, reading up on the SOR newsletter, and so much more. Tonight's show is brought to you by Mighty Moose Beard Oil Company. It's 100% Canadian and 100% natural. They're taking care of beards around the world. Visit MightyMooseBeard.com and use promo code SOR2019 today. Tonight we are joined by the Paranormal Lawyer, Michael W. Hall. Michael is an attorney and retired judge who has been on Space Out Radio numerous times expressing his opinions on all things paranormal and his expert views on so many things. He's the founder of UFO I-Team, a great group of investigators and researchers who are putting out some really important information regarding the UFO phenomena, and he is instrumental in the release of some documents that could potentially change the UFO field. What we haven't heard him talk about often is his love of and involvement in the entertainment and performing communities, and how that, along with his legal career, have benefited him in his work within the UFO field. We're also going to talk about some recent events that have happened in the last week or so. And before we wrap this whole thing off, we're going to do some talking about a live streaming event that he has put together for next weekend. Michael, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Oh, Everett, thank you so much for asking me to be here on one of your flagship performances on Spaced Out Radio. This is really going to be fun for me. And very timely, obviously, with all the things that are fast breaking right now in ufology and, Area 51. We're going to have a heck of a time tonight.
Yeah, there is definitely a lot to talk about. And I want to get to that. But, as I look at your information and the things that you put out there, there's one thing that really strikes me, and it's kind of obvious, at least to me, and that's that you have a genuine love and appreciation for the performing arts as well as the sciences and law. And so I dug around a little bit and I found out some information, and it's actually to me, it's really interesting. I had no idea that you were a member of Up With People. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
You really dug back for that one. Thank you, Everett. Yes, I really, a lot of people nowadays, the younger generations might not know about Up With People, but it was, and still is, by the way, still doing tours around the world. A very interesting group. When I was in the group, I was the master of ceremonies of a cast of 130 young people from around the world, literally, from about 18 to 25 years of age. Our oldest member on the road was our cast director, Dale Penny, at 25. Louisa Crockett was our cast director assistant as well, and she was only 23 at the time. And literally, traveled by air, bus, car, any way we could get around the world, and had a very positive message of we need to get along on the planet, and, the cultures need to appreciate one another. It was a great musical show, 2-hour show.
Oh, that's really kind of cool. Now, if people think the name sounds a little bit familiar, but they're not quite sure, Up With People is probably most famous, I would think, for, I think they did 6 or 7 halftime shows from the late 70s to mid 80s for, that big game with the copywritten name.
You got it. As a matter of fact, Up With People has done the most Super Bowl halftimes of any organization or group on the planet. Actually, before they became the mega multi, video and audio events that they were live. The actual performance was done right on the field, and it took the old marching band thing at halftime to an amazing level, because there was music, there was dancing, there were hundreds of kids on the turf, during the halftime performance, and literally major portions of the planet, as far as billions of people were watching that group on Super Bowls for decades, actually.
Were you ever a part of any of those halftime shows? Have you been holding out on your performance experiences with us?
Oh no, I was there. I was at Super Bowl 16, actually. I believe it was 16 with, and it was, tell you about Super Bowl. This was the Super Bowl in the Rose Bowl, Everett. It was just an awesome event in Southern California with the Pittsburgh Steelers against the LA Rams. It was just the terrible towel and, you know, the horns up and everything. It was an awesome experience. And I just happened to glance at one point up to the giant Jumbotron, and there was a shot of like up my nostrils like you would not believe. It's just a scary thing to think that you would actually be, you know, shown like that around the world, you know, for your half a second of fame, you know, worldwide.
That sounds both incredibly funny and a little terrifying. I don't think I'd want to be known for that.
Exactly. And, you know, it's really a fun event because basically the Up With People halftime was about as positive and uplifting as you can get compared to the strange events that usually happen nowadays, you know, with the multimedia events of halftime. And you just kind of wonder, wow, where does some of that stuff come from, you know, and what are they trying to say? So, you know, we were younger and naive at that point. I was in my mid-20s, but it was just the experience of a lifetime. And being on the field there with these giant guys in these uniforms, man, you know, I played football in high school and wrestled in college, but these guys were just awesome. And of course, that was back in the 70s when I was doing it, and these guys are much bigger now.
Wow. That had to be a really an interesting event, but that's just one of a few, because you've done some workshops and done some acting with some pretty famous people. Oh
man, thank you for digging that out. You're right. You know, after college, I went to college in Pullman, you know, WSU out here in Eastern Washington, and I really enjoyed that. But I actually went to LA right after college with my brother, who my younger brother is only a year younger than me, ended up being a costumer in the movie business for 35 years, and ended up his career being Arnold Schwarzenegger's costumer for 15 years. So we both head out to LA, you know, right after college to make it famous like everybody else. And of course, you do a whole bunch of things to survive down there. You know, you got a job during the day being a waiter, and you go to like acting workshops, you know, at night or whatever, and you get, you know, bit parts here and there. And one of my acting workshops that I was involved with for about 5 years had some really interesting folks that were there. I mean, I don't know if you remember the comedy mime group, Shields and Yarnell were in my class. They were awesome people and learning the acting craft themselves. Dee Wallace, E.T.'s mother, for Steven Spielberg's movie E.T. the Extraterrestrial, she was in our class. Joyce Davenport from Hill Street Blues was in the class there. And the iconic actor / kind of like mentor teacher that we had in our class was Dennis Weaver. I don't know if you remember him from Gunsmoke. You know, the guy who played Festus in that series, the longest running television series in the history of this parsec of our universe, by the way. It was on television forever. And by the way, here's a bit of trivia for you. Gary Busey was the last gunslinger to die on Gunsmoke. I remember talking to him backstage at Universal Studios when I was the host in the green room at the amphitheater at Universal as well about those kinds of things. So, yeah, I got to hang out with some folks that were very instrumental later on in the music and acting industry.
Wow, I'm a little jealous. That's kind of cool. Very cool, in fact. When did the interest in UFOs and the paranormal kind of pick up?
Oh, man, you know, I have always been there, Everett. You know, I was the kid in Sunday school class who was always asking the weird questions of the Sunday school teacher, you know, like, what's this burning bush thing about, you know, well, tell me more about the Ezekiel's wheel, or the idea that there were giants on the earth, and they mated with women on the planet and had this Nephilim race, running around. I was always that kid, so I've always been interested in the strange or unique and paranormal. All throughout my growing up years, I remember reading the very first books that you could get a hold of, the paperback books that you would find in the grocery stores back in those days, about George Adamski, George Van Tassel, and those contactees in the 50s that were telling stories about meeting people from Venus and, all that kind of stuff. So it has always been there. When I got older and actually went to law school at one point, when I was 32 years old, actually later in life, I still brought that interest into the law and the paranormal. And as you well know, our good friend Dave Scott actually coined the term the paranormal lawyer and stuck me with it. So I'm really enjoying that kind of like niche right now in my career.
Dave has a knack for giving people nicknames that just kind of stick.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. That was one of the first things that ever happened to me when I was lucky enough to snag a little gig on Dave's show. He said, so you're kind of like a paranormal lawyer, aren't you?
You mentioned reading a lot of the old magazines and books. Did you have any personal experiences, or did you have any events in your life that kind of pushed your interest along, or was it just entirely through being exposed to it through media?
I remember upstate New York at one point, one summer when I was probably about 11 or 12 years old. My dad went to graduate school and got his doctor's degree at Columbia University. So we lived in New York City for quite a few years during my grade school times up to the 6th grade. And I remember living upstate New York with my parents and being outside at night on a summer night. So it must have been at least 10 o'clock or so when the sun went down on the East Coast there. And I'm watering the plants at night because there was a kind of like a water shortage of that summer. So you could only water after the sun went down. And I'm noticing this very bright green light kind of like going slowly across the night sky and not blinking, not having navigational lights at all, and close enough that you would think you would hear some kind of a noise if it was a conventional craft. I remember calling my mother outside to have her look at it, and she saw it as well. And then the next day, there was this little kind of blurb in the newspaper up there, upstate New York, that mentioned that a lot of other folks saw it as well. So I had a general curiosity up to that point, but that really piqued my interest at that time, just before I became a teenager.
Okay, so I can see how that would push the interest in the UFO kind of topics. Have you ever had a ghost experience, or those creepy kind of feelings, see something that you believe just didn't happen kind of experience?
I have never really had a ghost sighting that I can remember in my growing up years. Although for some reason I have always had an affinity for the Halloweenish, fallish type of year when the shadows grow longer, the days grow shorter, and the leaves are crunching as you go to school, all that kind of thing. I really enjoy that time of year and that whole idea of, walking past the graveyard late at night and wondering, what's going on out there. But I've never really had a sighting of anything like that, just kind of a general feeling of affinity somehow, that there is much, much more than we experience with our five senses. And it's out there probably waiting for us to experience.
I can understand that. The reason I ask is because I don't know if you've noticed, but people who are close to Dave or around Dave, oftentimes a lot of us begin to have these experiences. I mean, I'm a skeptic and I've had them. And I know other people that have had them, and they seem to kind of surround the whole idea of spaced out radio sometimes. And I was just wondering if you had something like that.
I hadn't yet, although I can totally commiserate what you're talking about. Because, give it time. There you go. I'm still waiting for sure, but I've been up there to Dave's studio, been on his ghost tours and those kinds of things. And I'll tell you what, there's definitely something going on up there in that neck of BC, the Great White North, because you can just feel it in the air. When we're out sky watching, even for UFOs, you just wonder whether a Bigfoot is going to come up out of the forest, or an entity is going to walk across your path at the same time. Very magical up there, for sure.
It's a very, very interesting area up there. You mentioned that you went to law school, what would be considered maybe a little bit late in life. With a background in entertainment and an interest in the paranormal, why didn't you maybe stay in LA and really push for that? What drew you to going towards a law career?
Yeah, well, I happened to be in Los Angeles and had found myself being on kind of like the insider group of some of the music industry down there as the host in the green room backstage at Universal Studios Amphitheater. Getting to know and taking care of the acts that come into the amphitheater on a weekly basis, like Sinatra, like Linda Ronstadt, Willie Nelson, all the rock groups came through. And I did that for quite a few years. And I realized at one point, you know what? I could probably be doing this for another 20 years. and you look around yourself and you see some of these old rockers. You see some ex-Doobie Brothers sitting at your bar in the green room, and they're all like trying to find their next gig, and schmooze the people for, kind of like a new demo tape or album that they've got to push. And you wonder, oh man, do I want to do that for the next 10, 15 years? Or do I want to get into something that could be more compatible with making a living, but still have some flexibility of doing what I wanted to do? And the law was it. And it just so happened to have in Los Angeles the oldest private law school in California called Southwestern University, where they had a program you can go straight through and get your Juris Doctor degree in 2 years, rather than the normal 3 or 4 year program that law schools usually have. So I thought, well, that's for me. I was 32 years old. I was married. I had a little 2-year-old daughter at the time, and I didn't think I wanted to work for a law firm anyway. After I got out, I just wanted to open my own law office and put out my shingle. So I said, that's what I'm going to do. Get it over with as quickly as possible. And literally, it almost killed me. I mean, I spent the second week in law school in the hospital thinking I was having a heart attack.
Oh, wow.
With the stress. I'm sitting there in class next to literally certified Mensa level geniuses that are 25 years old, just out of college, on a fast track to stardom. And, I've been out of college for 10 years and I wasn't that sharp of a student to begin with, but I survived. We started out our small 2-year program class with 50 students and ended up graduating 34 of us 2 years later. Nothing straight through without, just like a week off for Christmas, and that was it.
So no summer breaks or anything like that?
No, not at all. It was, we actually went to more classroom time in 2 years than the 3 and 4 year programs did, during their normal curriculum. It was kind of proudly advertised back in those days as the hands-on law school, where when you get out of Southwestern University, called their SCALE program, Southwestern's conceptual approach to law school education, you hit the ground running and you can, become a lawyer. You don't have to go work for a firm and try to learn the ropes. You really get a lot of hands-on experience. That's where Marcia Clark, Christopher Darden, the OJ prosecutors went to school. A lot of famous judges, actually, from around the country went to Southwestern University as well. I'm proud to say that I survived their course.
Wow, that sounds like an incredibly tough kind of course to take. I mean, I know that I don't think I could do it. Let me ask you this, and we'll start here, and we've got a couple of minutes before break. Maybe you can finish up your answer after the break, but we'll get it started here, because when you're an attorney, your job is kind of to champion one side of a debate. We'll call them debates or a cause, because it's not always a legal issue, or it's not always a criminal issue. Sometimes it's something else. But your job is to kind of push for one side and put their ideas out there as the more plausible ideas. But as a judge, it's kind of your job to sort of balance everything and hear both sides and keep everything fair, which is entirely different. How did that affect your research today, or your research in the past here, where you have the experience of both being the champion and push of an idea, but yet now reviewing evidence and looking at other people's research as well as your own, you have that experience of kind of being able to step back and balance it?
Yeah. That's the first hurdle you have to get over in law school, Everett, is the idea that you bring your own predetermined biases and, preferences to any kind of an argument. And in reality, there are arguments on both sides of the fence, just like a good debate would have, in debate class. So you have to really learn both sides of the fence, and that
okay,
way.
Michael,
it's interesting.
We're going to step out for a break here. Maybe we can finish this up right after that break.
Wonderful.
Looking for the stories of the strange and weird that you will find hard to find anywhere else? Check out the SOR Newswire on our website. Our writers, led by Captain Shirk, are scouring the world for the oddest and most bizarre stories we can find. Everything from weird crime to suspenseful and paranormal. We're working hard for you to bring you the most intriguing news of your day. Check out the SOR Newswire at spacedoutradio.com today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Are you addicted to the woo? Good. Me too. This is Dave Scott, and you can woo it up with me every Monday through Friday, starting at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, for 3 hours of great entertainment in the subjects you love. UFOs, ghosts, cryptids, intuition. Yes, we hit it all 5 days a week. Look for us at spacedoutradio.com, where together, my friends, we own the night.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night.
This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for some great nightlife? The Moose Vancouver is the place to be. Catch a game on one of the big screens or just come rock out to your favorite 80s and 90s hair bands. Great food starting at $6.95. The Moose Vancouver is open until 2 a.m. nightly. It's easy to find near the corner of Nelson and Granville. The Moose Vancouver is the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Canada's largest UFO conference is ready to roll in Toronto this September 21st and 22nd at the Alien Cosmic Expo. This year is about the experience. Listen to the stories of Dave Scott, Travis Walton, Paula Harris, Grant Cameron, Ryan Stacy, Richard Dolan, Leslie Mitchell-Clark, and more. Get your tickets now at aliencosmicexpo.com.
Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar-Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com.
Welcome back to Spaced Out Sunday. I'm your host, Everett Themer, and I thank you for being with us. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates, KDNF AM 1560 in Dangerfield, Texas, KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon, KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California, WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, and UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans. On the digital side, we are on Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. And don't forget, you can check out our archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do us the favor and hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to some Bumblefoot, shopping at the Spaced Out Radio store, and reading up on the SOR Newswire, where you can find Dave's weekly blog, and so much more. Before the break, we were talking to Michael about how his career as a lawyer and judge gives him a unique sort of way of looking at some of the evidence and things going on in the community. And Michael, if you'd kind of continue your answer that you started before the break about how people sort of have these preconceived ideas and you have to go about sort of setting those aside and balancing everything that you see. If you could continue on that, I'd appreciate it.
Oh, sure. Yeah, Everett. I always kind of point people to that old film called Paper Chase with, remember the crusty old actor, constitutional law professor, John Houseman. I remember that the theme of that film was to basically kind of take and mold young minds, break them initially, and make them think like lawyers. And I never really knew what that was or the concept of that, trying to get out of the paradigms that you have developed, most of your life on how to think and the biases that you bring to the decision-making processes just naturally. Until I go to law school and all of a sudden you realize, oh man, not only are you reading like 150 pages a night of case law and trying to remember, the rule and, rule of law, the analysis and conclusion, the rationale of this entire case. But you have to keep up with the volume of material that you have to digest. So basically, initially, and of course, you're sleep deprived as a result of that. You end up realizing that you can't do what you normally did in preparing. Even in college, it's totally different. In actually getting the information out of the text. It's almost as if you've got to absorb it, somehow, even though you have to skim through and learn how to pick out the information that's pertinent for the next day's class. So when you finally realize that it's not necessarily the smartest guy in the room that does well on those tests and the oral advocacy that you have to stand up in class and give, but it's the person that really might have some maybe life experiences that have been general or very instructive during their lifetime, and being able to argue or at least talk in front of a judge and make things succinct and understandable, for your client's point of view. That's a very different way of approaching advocacy rather than just debating, an issue.
Okay. Yeah. It seems like maybe more of that could be brought to not only the UFO, but all of the fields in the paranormal kind of genre. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Because, you're talking a field that is totally different than most anybody has thought of during their lifetime. The nuts and bolts thing might be going out the window when you get into the paranormal. The whole idea of intuitiveness and everything being connected, all of those kinds of things kind of bridge a very vast area of the paranormal that kind of frees up your mind in the way you think. And so I've really enjoyed that aspect of the whole idea. And when in the law school, I remember it's very interesting that they have you take one of those Griggs-Myers personality tests. They kind of give you an idea of where you fall, with your classmates, and they give you a anonymous number so you don't have to embarrass yourself. But you take the test and then you plot yourself onto a 4 pie chart circle. So you figure out, where everybody else in the class is. And I ended up being in a very sparse pie chart of this circle that was hardly anybody in there, just because I was a little bit more right brain than most left brain people who are analytical. And I was pretty scared. But here's the interesting thing. I found out, because the professor that gave us the test plotted himself, and he didn't mind telling us where he fell. He was in the same quadrant as I was. So I figured, well, if a guy like him can kind of think right brain, a little strange, intuitive, out of the box, maybe I can handle it.
Well, as long as we're going to think out of the box a little bit, let's kick this off, because this week Michio Kaku made some statements where
yes,
he basically said that it was now in the hands of the government, or the burden of proof was with the government to prove that aliens and UFOs do not exist. And that statement has raised, raised some eyebrows and maybe even ruffled a few feathers. What do you think of it?
You're right, Everett. This is a historic statement in a historic time for a high-level scientist like Michio Kaku to actually state this, not just at a local conference here, of UFOs. This was in Barcelona, Spain, at a major conference, and Jaime Maussan was the interviewer at the time, asking him these questions. And you can imagine the ripple effect that this is going to have in the scientific community now, where a guy like Dr. Michio Kaku comes out and states categorically that the tables are turned now. The paradigm has shifted enough to where the U.S. government and the world governments themselves have the burden to prove that these things that everyone is seeing and observing, and even military pilots and Navy pilots and people in the military are also coming forth about now, it's their burden to prove that these things are not extraterrestrial and some kind of Earth-based technology. That is just an amazing statement to be made by an amazing scientist. So I'm really looking forward to the fallout of this one.
Well, do you think that there might be some fallout? Because one of the things that he said was essentially that if somebody's abducted and on a spacecraft, they should steal something, whether it be a paperclip or try and get some skin under their fingertips. And I understand how respected he is, but I think that is a bit of a poor way to make the point or make the impact, because it now seems to kind of put the burden of proof on the experiencer. And I think that might be a little bit unrealistic to somebody who's doing something or experiencing something that might be traumatic. Do you think there's going to be any kind of backlash to that?
Well, I've often thought about that as well myself, where I have interviewed experiencers and abductees, and even my lab, people who claim that they might have been abducted by military personnel. And I often wonder, why can't we just grab a hold of an ashtray, that's laying around on board or something, and bring it home with you? That's always been the joke. And I would imagine that Dr. Kaku was kind of throwing it out in that regard is more of a joke than what he really meant was that we're pretty much beyond that at this point. The whole idea of the scientific evidence is almost tipping the other way now, that there's so much scientific evidence that of nuts and bolts and of the equipment that we have, radar systems and those things, to be able to actually determine that these things are going so fast. For instance, the Tic Tac, Nimitz encounter thing. These things were traveling at literally 24,000 miles an hour from 80,000 feet down to the surface of the ocean in 0.78 seconds, less than 1 second. So, it's basically, we've got some proof there that needs to be refuted if they think it's not extraterrestrial. So I'm hoping that there will be good fallout in that regard. And I'm wondering if Dr. Kaku has realized that this is about to happen anyway, as far as disclosure goes. And of course, the scientific community does not want to be left behind. At one point, they're going to have to realize that they're going to have to get ahead of that spin and be able to survive in their scientific environment after disclosure. That's going to be a fascinating event.
Oh, we can go down that road definitely in a minute here. I want to ask, though, the statement by Kaku, do you think that this whole idea of they should have stole the paperclip, are ufologists or experiencers going to have to defend against this in the future, as the general public kind of uses that as their argument that, well, maybe it didn't happen because this person forgot to grab something from the spaceship because Michio Kaku said that that's what they should do? Could this come back and maybe harm the community a little bit, or negate or put on the back burner some experiences?
Yeah, well, I don't think so. I don't think that's going to be the real thrust of what people will remember from this statement that he just made. I think the far-reaching repercussion is going to be the fact that major scientists like him actually kind of switched the tables on the truth embargo, as Stephen Bassett has been talking about for decades, where now it's the burden has been shifted to, the scientific evidence is there. So if it's not ET, not from off-planet, then what the heck could it be in that regard? And it's almost up to the government at this point to prove that. I'm hoping that more people will be impressed with that kind of statement than, the whole idea about paper clips and ashtrays.
That what you just said there is a little bit frightening. The idea that if it's not ET, maybe it might be a technology that another country has that we are so far behind on that we don't understand. And when you put it that way, sort of, we can argue whether or not it's another country's technology or alien technology, but when you put them side by side like that, both scenarios are a little bit frightening, I think, for the average American citizen.
Well, exactly. And you would think for the U.S. military as well. If you're tasked with, controlling our airspace above our nation, keeping the citizenry safe from potential threats, and there are things that are traveling that fast in our airspace, doing maneuvers that we cannot, duplicate, if indeed is from a terrestrial source, as Kevin Day, the radar operator from the Princeton during the Nimitz Encounters event, said that we're screwed if this thing is not, ours. Let's put it that way. And some people have, kind of argued the fact, well, maybe it's just black ops that our military doesn't know about. It could be our projects, drones, or those kinds of things that come from the deep state. But again, that's pretty scary thought in itself, that we would have black ops programs that have, this kind of capability, and not even our own military knows about it. That's a scary scenario in itself.
Yeah, that makes me a little nervous, I'm not going to lie. And I'm up on the fence. I don't know. It's not really my entire job to know. I just sit back and watch these things, and I get questions. And, one of the questions that I kind of have is we seem to get focused on different aspects and different topics for a little bit of time. Some of them it's a short period of time. Some of them it's a little bit longer. But what, as a UFO researcher, what do you think is out there, or what evidence have you uncovered of something that maybe we've missed, that we're not looking at that we should be, that maybe supports or refutes what so many other people are doing out there?
Well, that's a great question. I'll tell you what, the group that I founded and direct, the UFO I-Team, has some really amazing technical guys on board that have come up with some amazing instruments that we are now utilizing in our Skywatches and UFO investigations. that are bringing about some data that's just astronomical. As a matter of fact, I'll just pick one of them to talk about it briefly here. We've got some things caught on tape in the Mount Adams area down south central Washington state just this last August that point to the fact that these things are anomalous objects that look cursorily like shooting stars, streaks of white light across the field of vision on a video. But when you slow them down and analyze them further, these are sine waves. They travel not in a straight line, but in a kind of a pattern that looks like a flattened out wave pattern. So when we analyze that, Dave Mason is one of our UFOI team techie guys, and he's put that actual sine wave through an oscilloscope that he's got, and found out that these sine waves match what they call the Schumann resonance. And these are the actual resonant sine waves of the Earth itself. For some reason, there are craft in the heavens that we've recorded that seem to mirror the Schumann resonance of our planet. So we're wondering whether that is some kind of a communication tool that these anomalous aerial craft are using to maybe give us a sign that these people are communicating with us through the actual language of oscillation. So those are some of the things that we're working on that a lot of people haven't thought of before. We've got some other real interesting technical gear that I can get into later also that will just blow your socks off. And we're putting it out on our Facebook pages on UFOI Team for everyone to see as well.
You know what? Maybe in the next segment we can talk about or discuss a little bit some of the advancements in the research field. With these sine wave kind of objects, that's not a inherent characteristic or problem pattern with the equipment itself. It's actually making this wave. It's not an artifact.
Yeah, good point. We definitely thought that initially, is that this could be a problem with our software, our lenses, those kinds of things. And we got this captured now on multiple occasions on multiple videos and cameras, different kinds of cameras. We've got FLIR photography, night vision photography, stop action photography, and we've got even the capability of recording light frequencies from various anomalous objects and turning them into sound and recording that sound and then sending out the same frequency in sound and light back to the source that emits them. So we're starting to do some really technical stuff that seem to narrow down the mistake factor that these things are oscillating in reality and not just on our instruments.
So you've caught these on multiple devices then. Are other people catching them? Is there some place that somebody can have their footage analyzed to see if it matches what you guys are catching? Or is this just something that right now you guys have as sort of a proprietary, I'm not good at English, sort of technology?
Well, it's not really proprietary to us. It just seems that we seem to recognize it at this point. Just recently, within the last few months, since August, that this phenomena has kind of reared its head, and we've noticed it. And we've tried to debunk it ourselves, trying to figure out if it was a mistake. And it seems to be quite real. But I have a feeling, Everett, that other people are recording the same thing and not able to enhance their videos or zoom into their videos long enough or close enough to be able to determine this strange vibration frequency that these things are traveling in. So we post our stuff up to the public immediately as soon as we can on UFO I-Team on Facebook, just so people can look at it themselves, debunk it if they can, and compare what we're finding with maybe some of their own data as well. It's been very fascinating for us.
You mentioned that you were able to basically send back towards the object a light and sound ray. You are gonna just freak out when you see this. There is a video explaining this on our Facebook page at UFO I-Team that will knock your socks off. Dave Mason is our techie guy who runs a tech firm out of Burien, Washington, has invented a pair of binoculars, very high-powered binoculars, that will actually, with a diode inside of the binocular, it will take in light frequency like an airplane. It'll tell you that an airplane sounds like this and records this kind of light frequency. Stars will have their own light frequency and to be very consistent. Anomalous objects have a very unique light wave frequency and can be recorded through these binoculars. Then, if you have a pair of headphones or a Bluetooth speaker device, you can hear. I'll make it real quick. You can hear that difference as well. And then what he can do is he can take that light frequency and through a diffused laser, send it right back to the source. So you can imagine if you're a UFO or anomalous object cruising along, sending out a light frequency, and all of a sudden you see your same light frequency being shot right back to you. We're hoping that's going to be the beginning of CE5 for us, human-initiated close encounters. Okay, we're going to step out here for a break in a second, but when we get back, I want to ask you about that because that sounds fascinating. I have a couple of questions, but we're going to step out for a break here right now. Okay, Michael?
Wonderful.
Thank you. Okay, we'll be right back on Spaced Out Sundays.
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Themer. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is Watching.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
At spacedoutradio.com, we have a little bit of everything for you to stay up late. So while you're there, check out our SOR Newswire, where our team brings you stories of the weird and strange to the WTF from around the globe. News on Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, Darwinian-type crime tales. It's the stories that the mainstream media usually won't touch. Well, we got them all on the SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Come hang out with me, Little Richie G, as I take over the airwaves on Spaced Out Saturdays. This is Rich Giordano, and I'm going to bring you the most fun on the radio you can have with your clothes on. We're going to get to the heart of the subjects from UFOs to what's going on in the paranormal and everything in between. So come join me at spacedoutradio.com starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, for the fastest 3 hours of your week.
Are you looking to keep up with Spaced Out Radio? What better way to do so than to go shopping at the Spaced Out Radio store? It's a great place to get exciting swag that will make you look good. We have t-shirts, hats, hoodies, and so much more for you to dress yourself up with. All you have to do is go on our website, spacedoutradio.com, click on the store, and get what you want. It's that simple. So come shop at our store, where we can own the night together.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Are you having encounters with the paranormal, supernatural, or ufological that you cannot explain? Look no further than the SOR Sightlines Report, brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. This is Ryan Stacy, head of the Research Association, TESA. Soon on the Spaced Out Radio website, you'll be able to file your reports and have them researched for you. We are independent and ready to help Spaced Out Radio listeners today.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
Looking for something new to push your limits? Look Beyond the Spectrum, a new docuseries featuring some of the best researchers in the world when it comes to everything from UFOs, government cover-ups, and Bigfoot in the forest. Truth seekers like Steve Bassett, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, Richard Dolan, as well as others all chip in to bring their knowledge to you. Beyond the Spectrum can be found on Amazon as well as Tubi TV. Tell us what you think on our Amazon page.
Hey, this is Canadian paranormal investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
Hi there, this is Dave Scott, and I'm bringing you the Woo every Monday through Friday on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going all out to bring you the strangest, oddest stories and subjects I could find for your entertainment. Why? Because when we hit peak Woo, I know I've done my job. So come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com, 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, and together, my friends, we own the night.
Welcome back to Spaced Out Sunday. I'm your host, Everett Themer, and I thank you for staying with us. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates. KDNF AM 1560 in Dangerfield, Texas. KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon. KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California. WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia. And UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans. On the digital side, we are on Kingdom of Night Radio and Revolution Radio. Don't forget, you can check out our archives at youtube.com/spacedoutradio. Just do us the favor and hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to some Bumblefoot, shopping at the Spaced Out Radio store, and reading up on the SOR Newswire, where you can find Dave's weekly blog and so much more. Michael, before the break, we were talking about some advancements in technologies that your team kind of developed, and one of the things that you were mentioning was this idea and this ability to send something back to these craft. When you do that,
right.
When you do that, are you getting any kind of responses or interaction from these craft?
We are. That's the interesting thing. We are getting, people have probably heard of the CE5 Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind response, where the craft might flare up in a response to some kind of human initiated contact. For instance, some people have used a laser light or even just a powerful flashlight and shined it towards an anomalous object that's going past, and found out that these things are responding in kind back to the human-initiated contact. If you did like 3 dots or dashes in a row, you get that kind of a pattern of a flare-up right back. We've experienced that ourselves in the past with the idea of these craft flaring up, not only in response to laser lights that we would be able to point in their direction or circle around them, but also with our own thoughts as well. That has been caught on tape quite a few times. Well, the thoughts meaning going along with the verbal request that this object in the night sky flare up for us, and immediately it does, and it goes back down, and it does it like 3 separate times within a span of a minute. Those kinds of events have happened to us in the past. But here is a fascinating thing that we're getting into, Everett, that I think you'll really enjoy. I've told you about this set of binoculars, high-powered technical binoculars that Dave Mason has invented. It's his own invention, where he can take in the light frequency from any kind of object in the night sky, a star, an anomalous object, an airplane or whatever, and he can record it and listen to it audio-wise, and then he can return that same audio frequency and sound and light back to the source. What I got to thinking about that at one point when Dave told me his new invention and how he was able to use it in the field for the UFO I-Team, I got to thinking of another client of mine that has been working with the Nimitz carrier group. And that's, Commander Day, who was running the Princeton radar system when the Tic Tac UFOs came by. He has come up with a very interesting theory that these Tic Tac kind of migrations that they were caught back in 2004 off of the Nimitz were seemingly mirroring the migration of whales as they gave by. Kevin Day is looking into that theory that potentially these UFOs that were coming by in waves of 10, 20 at a time over a 10-day period, up to hundreds of them, seem to be following the migration of the whales at that same time. So I got to thinking, wow, what if Dave Mason from our UFO I-Team was able to take the whale sounds, the frequencies and sounds of whales, and broadcast that in his diffused laser system to these anomalous objects in the night sky. And he just came back recently, within the last few days, of a FLIR photography video that he has of a very anomalous Tic Tac shaped, by the way, object that literally streaks across his field of view on the FLIR photography during the exact time that he is broadcasting whale sounds in that basic area of the field of vision of the FLIR photography video. So that's very encouraging at this point for us to think that maybe there is a way to communicate, or at least stimulate some communication with anomalous aerial objects by the use of light frequency and sound. And here's the kicker. When you look at the light frequency that he is broadcasting out into space, it just looks like a little kind of like cool little laser light show that you can see with your naked eye. But when you put the diode from the binoculars over that light source, even if it's just his light source from his laser show, you can actually hear the sound, and you can broadcast AC/DC. You can put any music you want into space through this light frequency system that he's developed. And then when you do that with the binocular, you realize, oh my gosh, these are beautiful whale sounds that are being broadcast out into space. And they seem to have gotten some response from anomalous objects. So we're looking into that big time.
What do you think the significance is then that they are monitoring or following the migration of whales? Of all the things that they could monitor or be interested in, I'm not quite sure I understand why they'd be concerned with that. You have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, that's exactly the conundrum there. Are they interested in a species like the giant animals on our planet and their migration patterns, or are they somehow in communication with them? Many people have thought that whales and dolphins and killer whales and those kinds of mammals in the sea have very advanced, maybe even intelligence. So I'm wondering if that's, we don't know. We're just kind of being, open at this point with the research. And Kevin Day is very, very interested in putting together, he's already got a group together called an UAP expedition, where he is planning going back out in November of 2020 with a whole complement of research gear and ships. Corresponding with the Scripps Institute, by the way, they're going to actually confirm when the whale migrations start and where they are happening to see if they can potentially pick up these tic-tac UFOs again, doing the very similar thing that happened in 2004 during the Nimitz UFO encounters.
Wow, that's really cool. You had mentioned that with this technology, you can almost interact or get responses from the craft. What do you think that does to the argument that some people say, well, many of these or all of these are just some form of drone from, granted, maybe off-world or extraterrestrial, but that it's not really manned by any kind of intelligence? If it's giving you a response, that almost seems to negate that argument. Do you think that maybe all of these craft are manned by some form of extraterrestrial? Do you think that maybe some are and some aren't? What are your thoughts with all of that?
Yeah, I've been in this field long enough to think that it's probably a little both. In reality, I was a field investigator for the APRO organization back in the mid-'70s, Aerial Phenomena Research Organization, headed by Jim and Coral Lorenzen, well before I even became a member of MUFON, which I still am. But all of the cases that I've come across and in Project Blue Book and all those kinds of things seem to have data that says that maybe some of these things are just probes, some kind of small device that come down and maybe remotely controlled just to gather information. Then, of course, we've got all the information and, data and stories about people going aboard the craft and actually meeting, being confronted with beings themselves. So I think we're probably looking at a little of both. And, of course, there's a whole other area of this phenomena, basically the orb factor, where people are seeing almost translucent orbs in many instances that seem to act like they're sentient themselves, or could be a drone, that's remotely controlled as well. So, yeah, that's a very interesting idea. That you would think that if we had that capability with our own drones, you would think that an advanced civilization could definitely do that as well. But I don't think they're all drones, for sure.
When people are out looking at the skies, or they're videotaping or recording something that they think may be a UFO, and they look at it and they maybe see it in person and review it on their tapes, is there anything that they can look for in terms of a clue that whether maybe the craft might be manned or maybe it's a drone? Are there size differences? Do they act differently in any way, or is there any indication one way or the other?
Well, that's a good question. Obviously, if we've got some kind of response, a CE5 response from a craft, you would think that there seems to have been a sentient being involved with that. Although, who knows? That could even be a possibility if it was a drone or a probe as well. Maybe they even have that capability of knowing that you are attempting to contact it through thought or laser or even the spoken word. I don't know. You would think that kind of narrows it down, though, when it gets very close and it is doing, kind of trajectories that are very unique. The zigzag or falling leaf syndrome, the fact that the things are landing potentially in close proximity to the witnesses. You would think that those things would have a purpose for landing and would have something inside of them that would be coming out to either collect samples or do some kind of research rather than just being a drone themselves. So it's very hard, I would think, to have some kind of a rule of thumb in that regard. It's very interesting to me to think about this whole CE5 scenario. Dr. Stephen Greer was one of the main proponents of that many decades ago in, trying to contact extraterrestrials. But one of my longtime clients is Dr. Dick Haynes, Richard Haynes, who was an ex-NASA scientist in the 60s during the Apollo and even Mercury programs, who was in charge of their human factors department at NASA for many years in JPL. He actually wrote the book on CE5. If you want to read about human attempts that have been recorded over the decades of, contact with aliens and UFOs, you can look up the book CE5 by Dr. Richard Haynes. It's a very thick book, and it's been kind of instrumental in bringing that whole idea of a close encounter of the fifth kind to the general public. So, yeah, it's something to think about.
Can you take a second, because we've talked about CE5s now here quite a bit. Can you take a minute? I think most people are familiar with a close encounter of the first kind, the second kind, the third kind. Can you take a minute and explain what a close encounter of the fifth kind or a CE5 is?
Yes, of course. Well, the close encounters of the one through the third kind are basically, observations of anomalous aerial craft at various distances. CE1 is basically just, a light in the sky. probably the night sky, could be the daytime sky, but quite far away. And CE2 would be a closer sighting, probably within 500 feet. I think Dr. Hynek defined it. Close encounters of the third kind is actually what they call alien contact, or contact with an entity involved with a craft. And CE4, close encounters of the fourth kind, of course, is the alien abduction scenario, where you are actually boarding a craft voluntarily or involuntarily. Now, CE5 is the basic determination of human-initiated contact, where you are observing an anomalous object and you make some kind of overt move on your part with some kind of ability with a light, sound, your own voice, your thoughts even, and kind of putting out a statement or a question or a signal and getting a response back that is unmistakable, a response back from your request or signal. So that's what they call CE5s nowadays. And I don't know what we're going to call the CE whatever that Dave Mason has come up with when it comes to light waves being sent back and forth between anomalous craft, and potentially have some kind of communication going that way. And then these sine waves that we're experiencing in certain trajectories of UFOs are a whole different scenario as well. So it's the data just keeps rolling in.
Wow, it scares me a little bit at the idea of, I grew up with, CE 1, 2, 3, 4 was kind of new. When did the CE 5 sort of come into the picture? When did it become sort of a commonplace acceptance?
Dr. Haynes, Richard Haynes, wrote his book CE5, I believe it was in 1980 or so, that long ago. He has been, Dr. Haynes is the guy that was the chief scientist for the pilot reporting agency called NARCAP. And they're the ones that got, pilots were very reluctant to give any UFO sighting report to anyone, let alone their own peers in the military or even commercial pilots. So Dr. Haynes has, for many, many years, been taking pilot reports of UFOs very seriously. And he has what he calls his AirCat catalog of literally thousands. I think it's over 3,000 pilot reports of UFOs, including Kenji Terahuchi, I believe is Terahuchi is his last name, the Japan Airlines pilot who sighted a large UFO aircraft carrier size over Alaska. And that was, reported to NARCAP back in those days. So he has been on the forefront of the whole idea of scientific research on UFOs, and actually came up with this book of explaining how CE5s have worked and recorded various cases of close encounters of the fifth kind in his book called CE5. So it's been around quite a while, but a lot of people don't know about it yet.
Okay. It does seem like the environment is changing a little bit. I know that Japanese pilot, he actually sort of ruined his own career by standing by his statements regarding that event. And now we have military guidelines coming out. Do you think there's a little bit of an imbalance there, or is it just a growth in the field, or where do you see the idea of reporting for commercial pilots? And I know that you're not an expert in this, but do you think it's going to become more acceptable? Because I do know that in the commercial field, it's still a little bit looked down upon.
Yeah, that's very perceptive on your part there, because actually there's a real interesting story about Captain Terahuchi coming out and in public and confirming the idea that he saw this. Dr. Richard Haynes heard of the problem that he had, and he was benched. They gave him a desk job after he came out and said that. And Dr. Haynes actually flew to Japan and met with the Japanese airlines and FAA equivalent over there and showed them all the statistics that he had of pilot reports, and pointed out that the Captain Terahuchi did the exact right thing that he should have and responded correctly, and actually got his job back, his flying job back, when he went over there. So that was a good ending to that story. But there is definitely a change in events now, with the Navy coming out with their own revised guidelines on allowing pilots to report UFOs. So I hope that's going to go over to the civilian commercial craft and pilots so that they can do the same, because that's something we need to get through that barrier as well, for sure.
Yeah, that would definitely be a step in the right direction, and maybe add some interesting accounts and some validation to what so many people see, because these people are up there every day seeing things, and they don't often talk about them. But if they were able to put them down on paper and confidently file a report, that has the potential to adding so much to the data.
Oh, yeah, definitely. You know, I've got one of those apps on my phone that will show you the air traffic over the United States at any given moment. It is astonishing how many flights are being, 24 hours a day. So exactly, if we got those guys reporting things, it'd turn things around quick.
Well, we can hope, and I'm sure as things move forward, that community is probably going to change that a little bit. Now we're gonna step out for a break here in a minute, and when we come back, I want to talk to you about something you alluded to a little bit ago, just about the changing technology and the growth in the technology and some of the things that your team has developed. Do you think we could take a little bit of time and talk about those?
Oh, I would love to. That'd be great.
Okay, we're going to step out here in a second, and we will be right back on Spaced Out Sunday.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for some great nightlife? The Moose Vancouver is the place to be. Catch a game on one of the big screens, or just come rock out to your favorite 80s and 90s hair bands. Great food starting at $6.95. The Moose Vancouver is open until 2 a.m. nightly. It's easy to find near the corner of Nelson and Granville. The Moose Vancouver is the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thaw, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio. You can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
Heading to Vancouver and looking for some great nightlife? The Moose Vancouver is the place to be. Catch a game on one of the big screens, or just come rock out to your favorite 80s and 90s hair bands. Great food starting at $6.95, the Moose Vancouver is open until 2 a.m. nightly. It's easy to find near the corner of Nelson and Granville. The Moose Vancouver is the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today. Canada's largest UFO conference is ready to roll in Toronto this September 21st and 22nd at the Alien Cosmic Expo. This year is about the experience. Listen to the stories of Dave Scott, Travis Walton, Paula Harris, Grant Cameron, Ryan Stacey, Richard Dolan, Leslie Mitchell-Clark, and more. Get your tickets now at aliencosmicexpo.com.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night.
This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
Welcome back to Spaced Out Sunday. I'm your host, Everett Themer, and I thank you for staying with us. We welcome back everyone listening on our terrestrial affiliates, KDNF-AM, 1560 in Dangerfield, Texas, KDUN, AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon, KZFX, 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California, WQEE, 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, and UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans. On the digital side, we are on Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. Don't forget, you can check out our archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do us the favor and hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features, including rocking out to some Bumblefoot, shopping at the Spaced Out Radio store, and reading up on the SOR Newswire, where you can find Dave's blog and a lot more. Michael, thanks for coming back with us.
Oh, my pleasure, Everett. I'm having a blast tonight. Thank you for all your wonderful questions, by the way.
Oh, you're too kind. Before the break, we started to kind of dig into the idea of some of the technical advancements that your team and others have made. You want to go a little deeper in that and tell us what some of these things are?
Yeah. The whole idea of the fact that you can have a skywatch and you can be out there and use binoculars. Actually, some people have very good eyesight and peripheral vision, which is kind of an advantage as well, because when you're looking through a telescope or a pair of binoculars, you can only see a certain section of the sky kind of zeroed in. But we've got a couple of people on our UFO team that have excellent vision peripherally. One of them is Ander Uristi, who is famous for his better than 20/20 eyesight. He's a Basque guy from the Pyrenees Mountains up there on the border of France and Spain, and seems to have an amazing DNA structure to be able to catch anomalous objects in a gaze that he does just up through the night sky with his own eyes. And then he's the guy that kind of mans our laser pointer that kind of directs all of our attention to the anomalous objects that he picks out and we can zoom in on. All the way, by the way, when we do these kinds of things for night watches and sky watches, we are very careful in what we are doing with our laser pointers or any kind of CE5 light source or anything like that, because obviously you don't want to be pointing a laser pointer or any kind of a overwhelming light source to a commercial airliner. And so we have apps on our phones and technical equipment that will tell us if it's the ISS space station, if it's a satellite going by, if it's an anomalous craft going by. It will be basically eliminated, by the things that we know. And we would definitely check it out ahead of time before we even bring somebody's attention with a laser pointer to an anomalous craft that we see. But the things that we're employing nowadays are not just lasers and binoculars and telescopes, but the whole idea of being able to capture light frequencies and being able to determine that if this light frequency we're capturing corresponds to a normal commercial aircraft light frequency or any kind of a light source that is known, we can categorize those now with the technical gear that we have and the oscilloscopes and the sine waves that we are able to analyze to determine if this is something that's known or not. And then, of course, as when we're talking about, we can turn those light frequencies into sound, and we can hear the difference to them and find out if it's anomalous that way. And now we're learning how to take that light frequency and sound and return it back to the source that is sending out those frequencies, and hopefully getting down to this, communication aspect of being able to at least send back a signal that is their own to the source that's giving it. And I would hope give them some pause at that point to initiate contact in some regard. I guess it's a two-edged sword when you're talking that, whether you want to initiate contact with an anomalous craft or not. But so far, so good. And we are, it's our attitude and our intention, I think, that's important as well, that we are there, looking for peaceful contact and communication.
Talking about initiating contact, wasn't it Stephen Hawking that said that the idea of initiating contact could be quite dangerous? Now, I know that he was speaking in regards to the crafts that we've sent out, sort of looking for life and introducing ourselves to life in outer space, but couldn't that apply more to the idea of somebody standing in their backyard and trying to contact a alien aircraft?
Yeah, you would think that it is indeed a two-edged sword in that regard. I suppose the thing you could basically hold out for some kind of hope in that regard is that if indeed they're near Earth, they're close, they're on the surface of the planet, and they have technology to get here from an off-planet source, or even another galaxy, for instance, you would think that they would have had the capability to destroy us a long time before we even developed the hydrogen bomb or the capability of retaliating in any way. So you wonder that if they're here, I would think more likely than not interested in wiping us out on the planet. Although, of course, you just got to keep that in mind, because obviously the universe, you would think, would be a mirror image of our own society and planet. And we know that we have good people and bad people on the planet that we have to deal with. So I would be very cautious, of course. And that's what we try to do in our technical aspects of Skywatches as well.
Okay. You had mentioned that you have an app that tells you what aircraft are in the air in your general area. And I'm assuming you're talking about flight radar? Or is it a different
flight radar? There's quite a few of them, actually. And we kind of deploy most of them. There may be the three most popular ones. There are some that are free downloads on the App Store. And there's some that you pay a couple dollars, and get more of a better view. And we have a couple of those things going on all the time when we're out in the field, just to make sure that, there's lots of things out there that, depending on the atmosphere, the heat, the weather factors, and all those kinds of things that look very unique and anomalous, even though they might be a commercial aircraft or the ISS. The ISS space station is very bright and very anomalous if you don't know what it is, but it basically comes over the planet, or does the rotation every 90 minutes. So you can pretty much plot it and use that as a tool to make sure that anything that looks similar to that is not the ISS space station. So there's lots of those apps out there that people can use, and it is fascinating. There's apps also that will show you the various constellations that are out there. You can even look at the constellations on the southern hemisphere of the planet without having to be there, just by tilting your phone in certain directions. So that's fascinating as well, because every once in a while we'll see maybe flashes of light that come from a certain area of the night sky, and we can pinpoint it being close to the star Vega, for instance, Venus, or those kinds of things, and we can kind of catalog those and realize that there might be something to keep in mind if we're seeing some anomalous flashes in the night sky. Does it come from a known star, or at least around a known star that we can pinpoint?
Okay. These apps, though, they don't actually use radar. They use more of don't they use a database of the flight plans of the known aircraft in the sky? I mean,
yeah, they do.
They're not getting like a live radar feed to your phone. They're using more of a algorithm with the programmed flight plans.
Yes, correct. And then they're also using the gyroscope portion of your phone, where you change the position of your phone to see different parts of the night sky. It's very, very fascinating how those things work. But you can use your phone pretty much as an instrument to be able to pick up certain things in the night sky some that you can't even see with your naked eye, for instance. But on your phone, you can tell that this is a satellite, this is an iridium satellite, or whatever that's going by on a regular basis.
Okay. So if there were a craft, say, a couple of miles from you and about, let's say, 30, 40,000 feet, somewhere in that typical commercial aircraft altitude, even if you're seeing it, it wouldn't show up on the flight radar or any of these other apps, right?
If it's anomalous, yeah, it would be eliminated from a known object by something that we would check on flight radar or some of the other apps that are out there to see if it was, a military flight or commercial flight, those kinds of things. Some of those apps get very detailed and it'll tell you which airline it is, where it's headed, those kinds of things, where it came from. So once you eliminate an object that is that close, below 30,000 feet, then you start realizing, wow, this is not something that is responding to a normal transponder. Although you have to be very discerning as well, because there are military flights and certain flights out there of commercial aircraft that don't have the transponder information that shows up on various apps. So you have to be discerning that way right. as well.
Do you foresee, as long as we're talking about advancements, and I know that neither one of us is a computer expert, but do you foresee a time where maybe there's an app or even a technology where you can see a live radar feed from your area, just to rule out, and I know that we can go down the whole government conspiracy route of, even if it was caught on radar and you were getting a signal or a feed from maybe a local airport, whatever it is that you're seeing would be eliminated from that radar. But do you think that there's ever a time or a time coming up where maybe there will be something that you can see, like live, minute by minute radar feeds?
Yeah. Actually, I think there is very shortly coming down the road a way that we could actually determine whether an object is a UFO, a UAP, or not, with what Peter Davenport has called passive radar. I don't know if you've ever heard of Peter Davenport's white paper that he wrote about 15 years ago about the idea of using FM radio towers to detect near-Earth UFOs that are not giving off transponder information. If anybody wants to read his white paper, it's up on his New Fork website, which is the National UFO Reporting Center. He has actually gotten feedback from a very high-ranking officer in the CIA that says that if Peter Davenport built a very simple system, by the way, that uses triangulation from more than 2 FM radio towers around whatever area you want to scan the system for, to pick out UFOs. I think that's going to be very possible, very inexpensive, I understand, as well. It's not like radar. You can actually, if an object bounces a radio wave, it is detectable. And that's exactly what that passive radar system does.
Really? Is this something that somebody could, maybe a few different people could build towers? You mentioned triangulation, so there'd obviously need to be more than 1 or 2 of them. But is this something that people could join together and implement?
Oh, yeah, definitely. You don't even need to build the towers. They're already there. The FM radio signals, are there on radio frequencies for stations. And
so you don't even need necessarily special equipment.
Exactly.
Now you've got me intrigued into how this works, because it must be some sort of interference then, or disturbance in the signal caused by the craft? How would do you know how somebody would pick that up?
Well, I understand. I'm not a technical expert in this regard, but Peter Davenport, that's a good guest that you need to get on your show, and I'll give you his contact info. Everett is Peter Davenport from the National UFO Reporting Center. He's just amazing guy, got multiple degrees, and he has come up with this idea that, using the infrastructure we already have and coming up with a computer program that basically takes the data, kind of like a Doppler radar. The Doppler radar that we see for the weather reports is a certain strength and a certain level, and it would pick up some real interesting anomalies if it was tuned to that. Same thing with FM, and various radio towers could be tuned with software to pick up these anomalies that are reflecting off of solid objects that go through the near Earth, traveling through our close airspace. Not going to work, up in the high levels of our atmosphere, but down close to Earth, it'll definitely pick them up.
Oh, well, I know there's going to be a white paper that I'm going to be downloading and reading tonight. I had never heard of this, and it sounds fascinating and very much like something the average citizen could help sort of implement.
Oh, yeah. Now, Peter says that, if he could get just, probably even less than $100,000, if he could get that kind of a budget together, he could get together the software and build the system that would be tuned into that kind of a passive radar system that he's been thinking. He's always wanted to do it, but never really had the time or the money to be able to effectuate it. And you never know. That might be the next step.
That sounds really cool. You had mentioned your technical expert. Was his name Dave Mason?
Yeah, Dave Mason, and we've got Lee Strauss as well, that are our main camera guys, technical guys on the team.
What are they working on? What's the next step that they're going to bring to your team? If you can give away the secrets a little bit, at least the basics of what we can expect to see.
Oh, yeah. Lee Strauss just sent me a text this evening, before we came on the air, about this new system that he's purchasing to do something very similar to what Dave Mason has invented, in the fact of capturing frequencies from the anomalous objects that we are now recording. We're seem to be getting into the scientific data of getting into the details of what we're observing. Normally in the old days, we would just throw up the video of very anomalous objects flaring up in the night sky or turning directions, on tape, those kinds of things. Right angle turns, 180-degree turns that cannot be satellites or, any kind of a bolide or anything like that. But now we're getting to the fact that we are distinguishing the frequencies that these things are giving off as they travel through our near-Earth space. Like we were mentioning, these sine wave values that we're seeing in their travel. They don't travel in a straight line like we thought they did. The idea that we've got various light frequencies that they give off that seem to resonate with the Schumann resonance of the Earth, which is 7.83 hertz or cycles per second, I think they call it. I'm not a real technical expert, but these guys are telling me this stuff all the time. So we're starting to realize that it's not just seeing these things and capturing them on videotape and showing them. We're actually showing now on our UFOI Team Facebook page the real scientific data that we're recording with our more technical gear that we're getting better and better at in finding out that there seems to be some kind of potential for communication in just observing their frequencies and travel patterns as far as sine waves go.
Okay. As the science progresses, do you think that this is going to reduce the need for or the importance of the average person's experience or the personal experience? Or do you think that this is going to kind of help bolster and support people with their personal experiences and maybe help draw some other people to make reports of their sightings?
Yeah, well, that is definitely our goal, Everett, is to use the technology and the expertise that we're developing in observing these anomalous phenomena to bring to the public the truth of what's really going on out there. Because I'll tell you what, we can go out pretty much any clear night of the week and we can set up our gear, night vision, FLIR photography, stop action photography, the frequency generators that we've got, and capture the sine waves and the various light frequencies that we can see. And almost any night of the week, we can capture anomalous craft. Now, if people knew that, that's what our goal is, to show them that things are going on all the time, above our heads on a daily and weekly basis. Then we're finding out that people are becoming more and more or less reticent to tell us what they are citing. The UFO I-Team's motto is "Tell us your story." And we are literally at this point, with all the mainstream media now in the game and all of the scientific and the military, professionals reporting UFOs, the stigma of reporting UFOs nowadays is going down dramatically, and people are coming forth with stories that are really amazing. Matter of fact, stories of UFOs and stories of alien encounters with beings as well is on the rise. Peter Davenport is telling me this all the time, that he is about as busy as he can possibly be in the last year and a half.
Well, I'm familiar with Peter and his National UFO Reporting Center, and he has a lot of interesting and fascinating information on there, and it's really worth checking out. And it's good to see that the stigma is slowly kind of moving away. But at the same time, do you think that maybe people look at it a little distantly when we begin to talk about the idea that there are craft up there just every night, every day? What do you say to the people who say, if that were true, why aren't they making contact or announcing that they're here? Yeah, definitely. That's one of the conundrums, where is everybody? How come they don't tell us what they're doing? And I have a feeling that if they are sophisticated enough to get here from wherever they come from, they are probably pretty well versed in our society and how we would react on a mass basis if they just made themselves known overnight. Although I think it's coming down to that with the young people, and the whole idea. I know we're going to talk about this a little later about the storming Area 51 meme that went viral on the internet. The young people on the planet seem to have no problem at all talking about the idea of extraterrestrials being on the planet and visiting and being a part of what we all are about. So, I'm assuming that the change is getting to a tipping point. Michael, we're going to step out for a quick break. We'll finish this up when we come back, and we're going to hit a few more topics that are kind of fun and interesting. So we will be right back on Spaced Out Sundays.
Hi there, this is Dave Scott, and I'm bringing you the woo every Monday through Friday on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going all out to bring you the strangest, oddest stories and subjects I could find for your entertainment. Why? Because when we hit peak woo, I know I've done my job. So come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com, 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, and together, my friends, we own the night.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
If you're heading to Vancouver, make sure you stop by the official bar of Spaced Out Radio, the Moose Vancouver. It's the place to party in YVR. At the corner of Nelson and Granville, the Moose Vancouver is always up to speed with a kitchen staff that serves great food. All food on the menu, $6.95 to $8.95. There's a reason the Moose Vancouver is recognized as one of the hottest spots on the West Coast. Get your horns up for the Moose Vancouver.
Come hang out with Spaced Out Radio, where we own the night. This is Carl. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and during the show, use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio to chat with us live. On Instagram, at Dave Scott SOR. On Facebook, give our page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. SOR archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. Come join us, or I will come join you. See you at your window.
Are you looking to keep up with Spaced Out Radio? What better way to do so than to go shopping at the Spaced Out Radio store? It's a great place to get exciting swag that will make you look good. We have t-shirts, hats, hoodies, and so much more for you to dress yourself up with. All you have to do is go on our website, spacedoutradio.com, click on the store, and get what you want. It's that simple. So come shop at our store, where we can own the night together.
Are you having encounters with the paranormal, supernatural, or ufological that you cannot explain? Look no further than the SOR Sightlines Report, brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. This is Ryan Stacy, head of the Research Association, TESA. Soon on the Spaced Out Radio website, you'll be able to file your reports and have them researched for you. We are independent and ready to help Spaced Out Radio listeners today.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thaw. Come tune in to SOR, where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com, where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com, and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
Are you looking to keep up with Spaced Out Radio? What better way to do so than to go shopping at the Spaced Out Radio store? It's a great place to get exciting swag that will make you look good. We have t-shirts, hats, hoodies, and so much more for you to dress yourself up with. All you have to do is go on our website, spacedoutradio.com, click on the store and get what you want. It's that simple. So come shop at our store where we can own the night together.
At spacedoutradio.com, we have a little bit of everything for you to stay up late. So while you're there, check out our SOR Newswire, where our team brings you stories of the weird and strange to the WTF from around the globe. News on Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, Darwinian-type crime tales. It's the stories that the mainstream media usually won't touch. Well, we got them all on the SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Come hang out with me, Little Richie G, as I take over the airwaves on Spaced Out Saturdays. This is Rich Giordano, and I'm going to bring you the most fun on the radio you can have with your clothes on. We're going to get to the heart of the subjects from UFOs to what's going on in the paranormal and everything in between. So come join me at spacedoutradio.com, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, for the fastest 3 hours of your week.
My hands can feel good. I'm free. I'm remembering who I am. My hands can feel good. I'm free. I'm remembering who I am.
Welcome back to Spaced Out Sunday. I'm your host, Everett Themer, and thanks for staying with us. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates. KDNF, AM 1560 in Dangerfield, Texas. KDUN, AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon. KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California, WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, and UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans. On the digital side, we are on Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. Don't forget, you can check out our archives at youtube.com/spacedoutradio. Just do us the favor and hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to some Bumblefoot, shopping at the Spaced Out Radio store, and reading up on the new SOR Newswire. There's so much more there to come to. Michael, thanks for staying with us, and I want you to pick up a little bit. We were talking about, what were we talking about? Because we just kind of kept on going through the break.
We did. We were kind of like having a great time here, you and I, so... Thank you for that.
We were talking about, oh boy, where did the break kind of popped up all of a sudden, and we just kept on going. What were we talking about?
Well, I think we're kind of leaving off with some of the technical aspects of our capabilities with Skywatches, and then, of course, we were talking about Peter Davenport's white paper on passive radar and the new developments that are probably going to allow us, I think, in the very near future, to use our current infrastructure with FM radio towers to detect UFOs. I think that'll be very fascinating and probably not that expensive.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm really interested in that, and I'm going to check that out. One of the things that I saw on your Facebook page today was a story that a very famous sign seems to have been removed. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, we just got news from our contacts in Vegas. The local news had a little report that they took the extraterrestrial highway sign down just today. That's the sign that's got everybody's sticker, on the signposts and on the sign itself. For decades, people have kind of added their little personal touches to the thing. And they're calling it graffiti, that kind of thing. But they're basically taking the sign down until after the storming of Area 51 event. For some reason. I'm wondering whether they're worried that the sign could be taken down if they don't take it down themselves, or used for some kind of a nefarious purpose, as far as the storming thing goes. I don't know if that's a concern for them or not, but I understand that they are going to put it back up, of course, but they're saying not till after the event that's going to be happening here coming up this next weekend.
Well, to take it down because it's had graffiti put on it, first, that's probably one of the most famous road signs in the world. And second, it seems like from day one, it's been, if not graffiti ridden, sticker ridden. Everybody's thrown a sticker on there. In fact, I kind of thought they periodically replaced the sign anyway because there were so many stickers on it.
Yeah, I agree. It's iconic. Even with the stickers, it's iconic. So I don't know that is the real reason. I think, obviously, the timing of the thing is very telling. Just the week before the storming of Area 51 event takes place on this September 20th, Friday, and 21st, Saturday, 22nd, Sunday, they take the sign down for some reason. It'll be real interesting when people get there because they're very used to taking photographs right there under the sign and next to the sign. So a lot of folks will be missing that opportunity, but I would imagine they're going to take photo opportunities right there anyway to kind of commemorate where the sign used to be.
Do you really think that it's going to deter anybody from going out there? I mean, most people that are going to head out there probably really don't need the street sign or the road sign. It was just sort of a stopping point to get your picture taken at. Do you think it really will have any effect on the attendance of the event?
Oh, not at all. No, exactly. There's only one way to get to Rachel, Nevada, or Hico, Nevada, which are two ends of the extraterrestrial highway, which is Highway 375. Very easy to find. Matter of fact, if anybody wants to get a real feel of what it's like to travel to Rachel, Nevada from Las Vegas, they can go to the UFO I-Team Facebook page and scroll down because we've got a really nice, about a half an hour video tour that we did 2 weeks ago of actually going north on Highway 93 out of Vegas, stopping at the major gas station outside of town and topping off our fuel tank, because that's about the last time you're going to be able to get gas on a probably 400-mile round trip that you're going to take, because there is no gas station at your destination of Hico or Rachel. So if you don't fill up shortly after you get out of Vegas, you're not going to make it back. And then basically 2.5 hours of driving north of Vegas until you come to the Highway 375, which is basically a left turn. And people are not going to miss it because of the sign, because it's very easy to find on any map or your GPS system, Highway 375. The first town you're going to run into is Hico, Hiko, Nevada, where the Alien Research Center is located. And that's one of the music events that are being scheduled out there for the weekend of September 21st through the 22nd, or 20th through the 22nd. And
Michael, before we get too much into the events that are scheduled and being talked about and going on out there, I want to explore your trip a little bit. What drove you to go down there, other than the obvious, look for UFOs and see the infamous area? Was this just something you wanted to do? Was it a bucket list thing? Was it for a potential documentary kind of thing? What was the impetus of the trip?
Yeah. Well, actually, I have ever since June 27th, when Maddie Roberts posted that viral meme on Facebook, about the idea of storming Area 51, they can't stop all of us, kind of a thing, as a joke, by the way. He put that up there. Ever since then, I've been basically in communication with Connie West at the Little Alien in Rachel. And so my my idea a couple of weeks ago was to make a preliminary trip out there to meet with Connie and give her whatever moral and support that I can give for her event that she's planning out there as well, because she's going to have a separate music concert event and speaker kind of a thing out there in the little town of Rachel that has 54 people living in it year round. So they are, and this is not something that she planned because she wanted to get a bunch of people there. This is something that she had planned as a response to something that was foisted upon her by this viral meme, because literally they have no idea how many people will be coming out there. So I wanted to get out there and really get a lay of the land, get an idea of what this place is like and where it's located. And literally, Everett, it is out in the middle of nowhere. Once you finally get past the black mailbox, which is halfway along the rest of the extraterrestrial highway, and you get down the road to Rachel, Nevada, there is a little kind of like pull-off stop along the highway, and then you look around in a 360-degree view and realize there is still nothing else as far as you can see. It is just literally desolate out there. So the idea of people thinking that they're going to actually storm the secret base at Area 51 is pretty ludicrous. Even getting there is in the hot weather that's going to be there is impossible anyway. But yeah, that's what my plan was to get out there, see what it was like, and to help plan ahead on what they're doing in Rachel, and also our own Disclosure Aid podcast event that's coming up as well. We needed to kind of do some preliminary planning for that.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I'm excited to hear that and listen. When you went there, what is the general feeling of the townspeople there, all 54 of them? Because I can see on one hand somebody saying, well, this is an opportunity to draw some people here and make some money. But on the other hand, I can see people maybe being a little nervous about the influx of people, maybe being a little tense about the idea of everything that would be going on. What's their general consensus out there?
Yeah, well, it's fear and trepidation. I'll put it that way. It's one of these kinds of things that if you're living in a small, isolated community where you pretty much know everybody in town, all 54 of them, and then all of a sudden you quickly realize that people are forecasting for you tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of interlopers coming into your community, overwhelming your resources, obviously, and potentially destroying your own private property. They are basically in fear of what could happen. So they are trying to be as proactive as possible. And literally, they're having contracts with security force out there, porta potties, sanitation, water trucks, all those kinds of things. But they always make this caveat that people, if they're thinking of actually coming to this event, they need to be self-sufficient, literally self-sufficient with water and food and clothing to be able to survive the night in a cold desert environment, even though it could be over 100 degrees during the day, and being able to, take care of themselves without a place. I mean, some people think, oh, we're just going to camp out, on our tents in the desert. But you don't realize that that's when the critters in the desert come alive at night, scorpions and snakes and all sorts of things. So if they're not prepared to even sleep in their own vehicles, that could be a main problem as well. So now, it's very two-edged sword.
Now, Matthew Roberts, the originator of the group, he had of the Facebook group. He's sort of stepped away from it and said that it was all a joke. And I'm not sure if the group is still existent on Facebook, but if it is, certainly the activity there has died down tremendously. Do you think that there's the potential for even 1,000 people at this point to show up? I mean, I think it's safe to maybe assume that you're going to get a handful of people who are just bound and determined to do this, and it's probably going to cause some dangerous situations, but it's certainly not going to be the huge number that they expected originally, is it?
Well, that's a good question. Matty Roberts has now kind of pulled out, and I don't know why he decided to change his tune, but he's now going to an event, or kind of changing his event for Las Vegas, at the Las Vegas Event Center. So he will still have, basically a party, kind of a get-together with bands and groups there in Vegas proper. But that, I don't think it's going to deter the people that really want to get down to the meat of the matter in the Area 51 location, because when you're talking, the closest town to the main gate to Area 51 off of the extraterrestrial highway is Rachel, Nevada. So you would think that if people are still hell-bent on going there, they're definitely going to show up in Rachel at one point and probably overwhelm their services. So, it's back in the old days with Woodstock, when they were anticipating and advertising that they were going to get maybe 150,000 people to show up for that weekend, maybe 50,000 a day. And all of a sudden, 500,000 people plus showed up and overwhelmed that community. Any kind of, miscalculation in a smaller community like Rachel, Nevada, is going to be devastating. So we, the UFOI team, have come up with the idea of a safer and sane approach, we believe, to actually not storming Area 51. You don't have to go there, although we will be there to report on what's happening. And we're going to have this 15-hour podcast for that entire week, where the Saturday, the 21st, from 9 a.m. in the morning Eastern Standard Time till 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where we are going to report on what's going on. We're going to bring ufologists and podcasters in throughout that podcast marathon and bring awareness to UFO and ET disclosure in a hopefully peaceful and constructive way. So that's what we're attempting to do, to kind of like soften the burden, if we can, on anybody thinking that they want to go there. And all they need to do is tune in on the internet, on Facebook, at Disclosure Aid on Facebook, or the UFOI team on Facebook, and they will just be able to listen in and hear folks like us talking about the whole situation, and hopefully kind of being a part of it without having to go there.
Yeah, that might be a better and safer alternative. In fact, might isn't the right word. It is a better and safer alternative. Do you know anything about the music festival that was sort of planned there? I believe it was called Alien Stock. That was recently canceled. Do you think people will still try and show up for that, or use that as an excuse to come out there and maybe be disappointed and angry and possibly cause trouble that wasn't even expected or planned on?
Well, there is still 2 music festivals being planned. Okay. One of them in Hyco at the Alien Research Center. George Harris owns that facility, and Jeremy Corbell is involved in that concert planning as well, with some professional concert planners out of Vegas. So that will be a big event, and they will have bands and speakers there. And Connie West at Rachel is also planning to still hold the concert that she was planning to do something well before Matty Roberts approached her and wanted to bring his alien stock to Rachel. You see, Rachel has been inundated ever since June 27th with the idea of having to prepare for what could potentially happen. So she is still working on trying to make a safe and sane response to all the people that would show up. And she has multiple bands and security forces, and the community is going to be there as well, just to kind of entertain and make sure that things go smoothly out there in her little community as well. So yeah, there will be things happening, but we want everyone to come with a peaceful attitude. Forget about the storming thing or any kind of trespassing at all, because that's just not going to work. By the way, if you ever decided to go to Area 51, you'll realize that from the extraterrestrial highway heading south going into the Area 51, it's 14 miles from the extraterrestrial highway just to get to the back gate of Area 51. And then you've got to go 30 miles from there to even get to the mountain range that divides Area 51 from the rest of the valley. Beyond the mountains, you got to go another 20 miles even to get close to the actual base itself. And if you're going to be walking any kind of Naruto run at all at that level, and that heat is impossible. You're not going to make it, let alone the response by the military in forcing you not to do it.
I guess when you put it in those terms, I mean, I knew it was a far distance, but boy, that not only sounds far, it sounds very, very dangerous, especially in that heat. And cold.
Yeah, in the heat and the cold at night, and you've got the literally rattlesnakes and scorpions that would love to go after any living creature at night or even during the day. That they're disturbed if they're walking along some patch of mesquite and Joshua tree, jumping out of those kinds of things. So it's just unadvised and ill-advised to even attempt to do something like that. And so the idea of trying to have these music festivals and speakers to bring people's awareness to a higher level and raise the consciousness level as well of the younger generations who might show up there, I think is a good idea. And then we're going to complement that with our podcast marathon.
We've got about a minute before we go to break, and you mentioned something that maybe you can explain to me. All of these people were talking about doing the Naruto run. Do you know exactly what that is? Because I'm so far out of the loop that I don't.
Oh, yeah. No, that's, it's a Japanese anime, a character, Naruto. And basically the idea is you stand up, bend over at the waist, and put your arms straight out behind you. And you run that way. That's the character. The animated character runs that way and seems to have superpower speed when he does that. So they think that they can Naruto run and avoid the bullets that way, in his made-up meme that he put on the internet as a joke. And he has admitted that, and obviously was even visited by the FBI because of how viral that thing went as well.
Okay, I guess I understand it now a little bit. With that, we're going to take a quick break here. We're going to come back and we're going to finish up talking about Michael's trip to the Area 51 area, his disclosure aid, and a little bit more on this whole Storm Area 51 event. We will be right back.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night. This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
Are you addicted to the woo? Good. Me too. This is Dave Scott, and you can woo it up with me every Monday through Friday, starting at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, for 3 hours of great entertainment in the subjects you love. UFOs, ghosts, cryptids, intuition. Yes, we hit it all 5 days a week. Look for us at spacedoutradio.com, where together, my friends, we own the night.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for some great nightlife? The Moose Vancouver is the place to be. Catch a game on one of the big screens, or just come rock out to your favorite 80s and 90s hair bands. Great food starting at $6.95. The Moose Vancouver is open until 2 a.m. nightly. It's easy to find near the corner of Nelson and Granville. The Moose Vancouver is the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio, you can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Are you having encounters with the paranormal, supernatural, or ufological that you cannot explain? Look no further than the SOR Sightlines Report, brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. This is Ryan Stacy, head of the Research Association, TESA. Soon on the Spaced Out Radio website, you will be able to file your reports and have them researched for you. We are independent and ready to help Spaced Out Radio listeners today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thaw, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Welcome back to the last half hour of Spaced Out Sunday. I'm your host, Everett Themer, and thanks for sticking around with us. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates. KDNF AM 1560 in Dangerfield, Texas. KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon. KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California. WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia. And UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans. On the digital side, we are on Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. Don't forget, you can check out our archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do us the favor and hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to some Bumblefoot, shopping at the Spaced Out Radio store, and reading up on the SOR Newswire, where you can find Dave's blog as well. And there's so much more there. Michael, thanks for sticking around for the last part of this show. I really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. This is great. I'm enjoying myself. Thank you.
Before the break, we were talking a little bit about the whole Storm Area 51 event. And the gentleman that started it, Matty Roberts, I believe, he sort of stepped away from it and called it a joke, and he sort of moved on. Does he face any potential liability if somebody were to storm Area 51 and get injured, get hurt? Does he face any liability if somebody has an accident out trying to get to it? Where does he stand in this at this point?
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why he is, tried to give the posture of pulling out and probably trying to discourage people from going there. That's probably one of the reasons. Obviously, he's worried about liability, and I think he should be. But obviously, it's other people's choices at this point. If you discourage people from doing something and they go ahead and still do it, knowing the consequences, by the way, of local law enforcement and the federal military, stance on this whole thing, it'd be really hard to transfer liability from a person who is acting, illegally to just an idea. So I don't know. I'm not giving legal advice in that regard to Matty or anyone else. But as a lawyer, it's something concerning. Obviously, you got to realize that this thing could get out of hand, and I'm hoping that it is a manageable event in both locations, because I think when people finally realize, when they get there, obviously, how far away this location is, I think they're going to literally think twice and three times about doing anything stupid, because in reality, it's a long way back, even if you don't get arrested. And if you don't do anything that's illegal, if you're giving anybody any even civil trouble or, causing a ruckus out there somehow, just to get back is a long trip anyway. So I'm hoping people will realize that this is something that could be an educational event and very positive, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
Well, I think the bottom line with that whole Storm Area 51 event is, even if they get onto the grounds, even if they get up to some of the compound buildings, there's really nothing there. There's still a lot of work to even potentially see anything. So in a way, it's almost a wasted effort.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, we've all heard the rumors that they've moved everything out of Area 51 anyway, to other bases and locations because of the fact that it became so well known in popular culture. So, back in the old days when they were testing the U-2 spy plane out there, the SR-71 and those kinds of things, it was pretty still secret at that point. Now that it's not, you can pretty well imagine that any potential problem that they could run into has been taken care of a long time ago out in that neck of the woods for sure.
Talking about the SR-71, when you took your trip out there, were you guys able to do any sky watching, UFO hunting while you were there?
Well, yeah, we didn't really get a chance to set up our equipment, out there because literally unless you're wanting to spend the night, which we did not do when we did our initial run out there to, reconnoiter what was happening. We didn't really have the time to set up because obviously it's not going to be dark in that neck of the woods till 10 o'clock at night. So if you are going to set up from 10 to 12 or 1 in the morning and then have to find a place to stay or get back to Vegas, it's going to be a long night. So we didn't really do any recording of anomalous activity out there, but we sure are going to be keeping our eyes open to whatever could be available. And you can imagine, I can imagine anyway, that if a lot of people show up out in the middle of the desert, the ETs, if they're out there and cognizant of what's going on, they might get very curious and even show themselves out there. So you never know.
I could see them doing that. When you were out there during the day, did you get to see anything that you would consider anomalous or out of the ordinary or weird in the skies?
No, I didn't do anything, see anything like that during the daytime. Which would be very easy to see, by the way, because I'll tell you what, the bluest skies, the clearest skies that you can even imagine out in the desert are just striking. So you would see anything glinting off the sun that would be flying by. Of course, there's military craft. When you're sitting there eating lunch at the Little Alien, you hear the sonic booms of the FA-18s and the jets that go streaking by at quite low level. You'll hear those roars every hour going by. So obviously there is aerial activity there, but it's very easy to pick out the fact that we've got military jets doing practice runs and low-level strafing in that area all the time.
Okay, well, I think the bottom line here is that it is an active military installation, and the idea of storming it is just not a good idea. It's bad on so many levels. But with your alternative, your streaming event, what do you have planned? What's that going to be like? I know it's going to be, about 17 hours?
Yeah. We're thinking of, the normal 9 to 9 thing, but then we got to realize that, we got the folks on the East Coast at Eastern Standard Time. So we're going to add, 3 hours to the mix and go from 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time as basically the old-fashioned Jerry Lewis Labor Day telethon. Remember the old days for muscular dystrophy where they would actually bring on musical guests and celebrities and raise awareness, of course, for the muscular dystrophy cause and the cure for that. And I thought, well, what a great idea to have kind of like a Band-Aid, approach to the whole idea where you're going to raise awareness for UFO and ET disclosure with a podcast marathon. So we're going to be bringing in broadcasters like yourself and podcasters from around the world in different parts of the country who will kind of take a shift in either being interviewed or, running with it for a half an hour or whatever they want or more, so that we can, bring in a lot of people and raise awareness. But also we are going to highlight every hour of the 15 hours, we're going to highlight a paranormal or UFO related organization that could use some monetary help, some direct, writing of a check or sending some cash to their websites and, giving some support to some of these people like Peter Davenport and the National UFO Reporting Center, who've been doing a yeoman's duty for decades, or Stephen Bassett and the Paradigm Research Group, who've been pushing for open governmental hearings on UFOs for decades. A lot of folks out there doing a lot of yeoman's duty and hard work that need to be supported. And we're going to try to do that as well during the 15-hour podcast.
Can you give us a little tease of some of the guest broadcasters, guest speakers that you're going to have during this thing?
Oh, gosh, I do. Let me just go to my little list here, and we'll pull up some of the names on the list so we can, there we go, disclosure age schedule right there. Our good friend Dave Scott is going to be at a conference that exact time on Saturday. So if we
that's
can
terrible.
If we can convince Dave to get to his phone and give us 15 minutes during that 15-hour period, we're going to try to get him. We've got the themester on the list. Everett Themer is going to be one of those kind of guys that we're going to be approaching and kind of getting on air. We've got, Grant Cameron. We've got Peter Davenport, Dr. Richard Haynes potentially out there, the NASA retired scientist from NARCAP. We've got a lot of podcasters that have their own following, thousands of listeners and viewers that we're going to try to hook in. There's Midwest Paranormal and Introspection Radio folks, Matthew Bennett and Kelly Steffen at Introspection Radio. Philip Mantle out there in UK has expressed some interest to come on and help us. And, of course, the famed ufologist Melinda Leslie as well, that have some real interesting input on my labs that she's been researching over the years. There's also a group basically called ETLet'sTalk.com, headed by Costa Polk, who is basically going to do a kind of like a CE5 meditation event during that weekend as well, to cover the area with kind of like a loving feeling and open contact messages for ETs. We're going to have him on as well to kind of explain his ET Woodstock contact kind of a thing that he has for a love of meditation and the protocols that they've got. We're just kind of going to bring in, we got a lot of folks from MUFON who are going to join us. We've got Frank Stalter and Chan Hanna, from UFO Network News Sunday. We've got groups like Metatron Power and Light, who is a paranormal rock group that will have some bumper music for us. And we might even put Dave Mason's, some of his interesting whale sounds and calls for bumper music as well. So we're gonna play it as we go here.
It sounds like you have a bit of a star-studded event there, a lot better than wandering through the hot and cold desert of Nevada just to get somebody in trouble. It seems like it's going to be an alternative that's a lot more fun.
Yeah, well, thank you for your help in getting the word out here. Also, Everett, it's it's going to be from the comfort of your own home, even at work. Whatever you want, you can pop in and out of the podcast anytime you'd like on Facebook at UFO I-Team and Disclosure Aid, and just check things out. We'll have reports from the locations out there. We'll bring you fast-breaking news whenever we can. And we're going to have some interesting speakers, and we're going to just try to raise awareness for this whole idea of, which has started this whole thing, the idea of disclosing what's going on with extraterrestrials and UFOs, and kind of highlighting some of the groups out there and organizations that have been doing this for years without any monetary support. So hopefully that's our goal.
Now, will you be prepared to go longer if something develops out there? Will you be kind of covering hour by hour the developments and goings on out there as this Storm Area 1 event is potentially taking place?
Well, you're right, Everett, that we're going to try to be as flexible as possible with the whole event. I mean, we're only planning on doing this on Saturday, the 21st. You never know if we have some interesting developments that are going on, even on Friday or Sunday. The whole weekend event could be very interesting. As a matter of fact, I remember old Woodstock, the footage that I saw on some of those documentaries back then. There were some interesting aspects of the performance that weren't even planned, that were historic, actually. And I can imagine there's going to be some very interesting historic events that happen that emanate from there, or are a response to what is going on there as well, that we need to cover if at all possible. So we'll give it a shot, whatever we can do.
Yeah, that's going to be, I think it's going to be a really, really interesting and fun event. And before we wrap things up here, because we're getting close to the end, I wanted to ask you a little bit about the story of yet another interstellar object similar to Oumuamua entering into our orbit or our solar system. Have you seen that? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Is this relatively a new object that has shown up?
Yes, this has been, I guess, announced in the last week or so. It doesn't have a name quite like that yet. It has just basically an assignment number at this point, but it's very similar to, was it last year with that object? And that object, that object had some Harvard scientists come out and state that it was possible that it was not just a rock, but potentially some sort of alien constructed thing. And there's some talk about this new one that's been discovered.
Gosh, I have not up with that, so I'm sorry about the details that I don't know about that one. But you can imagine that if they are now having the capability of determining that these are extra solar system objects that are coming into our neck of the woods and lingering a while, because the Oumuamua one, of course, kind of did this slingshot thing around the sun and then took back off out of our solar system. I'm wondering what this thing is going to end up being like. It was fascinating that the Harvard scientists were literally talking about the fact that Oumuamua cigar-shaped, long cigar-shaped, but maybe I think it was a couple miles long object could have been an extraterrestrial probe. They were talking about that in the mainstream media. So you never know. It's we might be attracting a lot more attention than we think, with maybe our consciousness raising or the things that we're doing on the planet for potential harming the planet as well. So I'm hoping that it's going to turn out to be benign or friendly for sure.
Well, they said that essentially this one is just a comet, which I can understand that. And when they talk about it being, only the second interstellar object that we've discovered, what about Halley's Comet? I don't quite understand the difference, because it's not like Halley's Comet is within our solar system for its entire orbit.
Right.
We don't exactly know the full origins of Halley's Comet. So could it be that they're just, labeling these things as such when in fact maybe they're quite common and not at all alien or extraterrestrial? They're just simply rocks that have been bumped into our orbit, or I should say into our solar system, because it's not going to enter our orbit around the sun so much.
Okay. Yeah, fascinating. I have a feeling, matter of fact, there's a major website that will track the near-Earth asteroids that are coming by the planet, and they can predict, how close they're going to come. I think that obviously that happens quite often that aren't necessarily publicized, but hopefully they don't come close enough to even have a threat to our atmosphere or planet itself. But yeah, it's very interesting that they come up with these things periodically. They just kind of pop up out of the blue, and brings the curiosity of the fact that we're much more vulnerable and involved in our solar system and part of the galaxy than we really think. And with our new technical capabilities, being able to come up with, these kinds of things well in advance of their arrival is very fascinating for me anyway, and for anybody that's out there sky watching.
Well, I think it's going to be interesting if this becomes sort of a pattern of these types of objects that might give us a clue as to what's going on.
Yeah, there you go. Remember the old War of the Worlds scenario, from Orson Welles, where all of a sudden they had a whole bunch of these things showing up, from taking off from Mars and showing up in New Jersey.
So can you tell us where to find the information and the stream for your Disclosure 8 event?
Yes, thank you. It's they can always go to the UFO I-Team on Facebook. They can always go to Disclosure Aid on Facebook as well. I will probably be simultaneously streaming on Michael W. Hall as well, the channel on Facebook. We're going to probably do some stuff on YouTube, on the UFOIteam.com site on YouTube as well. So they'll find us out there if they're surfing around, and they'll always be able to find out if they go to UFO I-Team or Disclosure Aid.
Excellent. Michael, with that, I have to say thank you. We have to wrap this up. We've run out of time, and it's gone quick.
It sure has. This has been a wonderful night and very informative for me as well, so thank you.
Well, thank you for joining me, Michael. I really appreciate it. We've got Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. A special thank you to everyone listening in at home, in your cars, and at work, and our chat rooms, wherever you may be. Remember, this is copywritten by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures. Thanks for sharing your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to distract Dave so I can put those keys back. Good night.